Hello and welcome. I'm Kyle Feldman, and this is my Bard College senior project, Water Security in the Village of Red Hook, New York, monitoring groundwater and surface water sources for potential indications of contamination. Currently, the Village of Red Hook, located in Dutchess County, New York, utilizes private septic systems as the main method of wastewater treatment. Meanwhile, the Village of Red Hook also uses a subsurface gravel aquifer as the main source of drinking water. Because there are several known areas throughout the village which have high densities of septic systems on quickly draining soils, it is vital to monitor the subsurface water quality throughout the village. Thus, for my project, I worked with the Village of Red Hook to analyze and attempt to collect water samples from 8 locations over 10 testing dates. 6 of the sampling locations were groundwater wells, but half of these wells were dry and thus unviable for sampling because the village was in the midst of a drought that worsened through the sampling periods. The remaining 2 testing sites were previously studied surface water sampling sites on the Sawkill Waterway. The goal of this project was to collect samples from several locations over a period of time under drought-like conditions in the Village of Red Hook to analyze the water quality samples for potential indications of wastewater contamination and indications of connectivity between groundwater wells and surface water sites. First, I measured the samples for the physical and chemical properties of the water, such as pH, salinity, turbidity, and conductivity. Then, I tested the samples for optical brighteners, which are indicative of common laundry detergents and toilet paper. Finally, I analyzed the water samples for the estimated bacterial levels by sampling total coliform bacteria, E. coli, and Enterococcus. My hypothesis was that the well located furthest downflow from the more densely populated portions of the village, referred to as Groundwater Well G8, would show the highest prevalency of wastewater contaminants. In comparison, I believe that the well located east of the village, known as Well G9, would have slightly less wastewater contaminants. I believe that the well located at the southernmost point of the village, known as Groundwater Well G10, within the Village of Red Hook's drinking water field, would have the lowest amount of contaminants. I also believed that both surface water sites would show moderate amounts of bacteria, but no more than the EPA's recreational water standard. I assumed that under typical precipitation conditions, there would be groundwater interaction between the wells, but that this would not be observed during a drought. I also hypothesized that there would be groundwater and surface water interaction between Groundwater Well G8 and Sawkill Surface Site S3. Overall, all of the locations sampled during the course of the experiment showed some level of potential contamination. My predictions regarding the relative rates of groundwater contamination were proven to be generally accurate. The G8 well had the highest amount of wastewater contaminants, total coliform bacteria, Enterococcus, turbidity, and optical brighteners. Compared to well G8, the G9 well had higher turbidity and optical brighteners, but no bacterial presence. The G10 well had the lowest level of contaminants, besides conductivity and salinity, and was the only well which was within the EPA's drinking water standard. My hypotheses regarding the levels of contamination at the surface water sites was proven wrong. Both sites were above the EPA's recreational water standard. My predictions regarding the connectivity and interaction between sites was proven to be accurate. The low moisture conditions resulted in no connectivity or interaction between groundwater wells. Like I hypothesized, I observed some level of significant interaction and connectivity between Groundwater Well G8 and Surface Water Site S3. Both of these sites shared positive correlations for 2 wastewater indicators, Enterococcus and percent optical brightener reduction. Thus, the ongoing security of freshwater resources is dependent on persistent observation, analysis, and determination to protect sources of drinkable water from various harmful compounds and pathogens. Thank you for listening.